This episode is brought to you by RLD Group, on a mission to reboot leadership drive, eradicate burnout in tech, and help transform technical experts lacking people leadership skills from being a company's biggest liability into their greatest asset. Leaders in tech are burning out at an absurd rate. Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre is a no BS conversation with a female executive who spent over 25 years in Silicon Valley. If you're suffering from the always on, never good enough, we'll replace you today machine called the tech space. This show will help you reboot your leadership drive. Here's Lisa.
Let's Control Alt Delete a little bit differently today. I want you to just take a minute and I want you to look around your workspace. If you're working from your car, that's your workspace. If you're working from your closet, that's your workspace. If you're in the office, right? Or if you're at home, wherever you are right now, just look around. Is it organized? Can you find what you're looking for? Are you like me with piles of paper? Do you have potentially more than one coffee cup sitting around? The pens that you use, are they color coded? Are you someone who can't stand the mess or tolerates the mess? Because I don't really know that there's anyone who loves the mess. I know I used to think I loved the mess until I knew better. So I'm asking you these questions today because burnout is at an all-time high. And what I know to be true in my own experience is that sometimes there's hidden things affecting your energy, your mood, your level of burnout that you're not even thinking about. And one of them has to do with the space that you're in. And I invited our guest today because I hired her to help me with these problems. And I didn't think they were problems. I really just thought, oh, my husband's a little cranky because things are a little disorganized. And what I learned in our working together for months now is that, Houston, we do have a problem. We have a major problem. We are spending so much energy on having even unspoken resentments or misset expectations, reworking, finding things again, wasting paper and printing, looking for documents we couldn't find. And so, Kristina Browning, I'm so grateful to have you here on Ctrl Alt Delete today to help everybody Ctrl Alt Delete their physical and sometimes mental space. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Mm.
I think dialing in your space and dialing in may be different for everyone, but it's the difference between rowing with the current and rowing against the current. And when things feel really hard, I mean, there's a zillion reasons why, but if we can just improve those items, one tiny thing at a time, it's going to feel less hard a month down the road.
Mm. Do you see why she's here? Everyone just lean in a second. So I want to tell you Kristina's official title, Home Functionality Coach. Now she's a lot of things to a lot of people, okay? But she is our home functionality coach. And that includes our business space. And Kristina, what you just said matters so much because one of my biggest ahas, I mean, I've burnt out. I've rebooted. This whole journey we're on as a business is to help people, Control Alt Delete their mindset, their leadership skills. And before I met you, I never thought about rebooting our space. And I didn't understand how rebooting our space actually rebooted our relationship. And how rebooting our space rebooted our relationship, which rebooted our health. Like this pull through is so profound that I thought if I don't invite you in to this conversation, I'm actually not being of service to our listeners. So I think if I can, I just want to paint a picture and then we can talk about like why this mattered, because you know why it mattered. I know what you did, but I think you can unpack why it matters, which will help people better understand why what you do is so impactful. So I'll just let everybody know. Last November, we came to a point in our household where we were no longer enjoying our time together. We had a lot of tension. The holidays were coming, and I kept thinking about, we've done counseling, we've taken vacations, we're navigating a pandemic, but this tension, this like underlying tension, it wasn't going anywhere. And I couldn't figure it out because, we're, as a family, we lean in a lot to different things and we hold space for big feelings and we work things out. And I remember having this moment of like, I hate our kitchen. It's a mess. I hate grocery shopping. I hate putting things away. And I'm not even the primary. My husband's the one who's the cook. It is his space. And he hates the kitchen. And I remember calling Kristina because I had actually seen something about her podcast on LinkedIn. And I knew she was local. So I was like, hey, do you do home organizing? And she's like, well, yes, I do. I said, well, I got this kitchen problem. So here you came into our kitchen. And let me tell you, letting someone into your space, yeah, that's like vulnerable, right? Here's my big mess. Here's the tension it's causing in our family. Like, oh my gosh, but I knew we needed help. And I knew that what we were doing wasn't working. And I want to talk about the kitchen, but I think you've also helped me with my home office. So I'm just going to say, like, this is not lost on me. So here you come, kind, gracious, so excited. Like when you think about a leader in their genius zone, how energizing is that, right? So I instantly realized I am so glad I asked for help because we've been trying for 16 years to figure this kitchen out. Fast forward, I walk in the kitchen now, I know where things go. Things have a place. I don't resent and put things in different spots. We know what we're going to eat. I just had my food delivered because we planned ahead with Kristina. Our daughter's more involved. Like we're working as a team. Our team at home is stronger now. So I'm not saying you need to out all of our dirty little secrets, Kristina, but I am willing to play. And I do think it could be useful for people because from there you took on our whole house. But what is it? Tell me how normal I am, maybe. Tell me like what this is like for you and why you help people take chaos to clarity and true like connection like that. I think that's one of your secret superpowers. So walk us through that.
Yeah, I really think that a lot of people think first about home organization. And in part, I'll say because there's a TV show about it. There's a fabulous TV show about it. And when you think of DIY, you think of, HGTV, for example. And so you think of the makeover that happens in 60 minutes. But when you're talking about real life, it's really about having the kahunas to dip your toe in the water of asking the questions of how could this be different? How could this be better? And once you pose those questions to yourself, then you're open, hopefully, to the answers and tweaking them. I know change can be hard and scary, especially right now when there feels like there's so much coming at us. But when we can eliminate little tiny pieces of rub, the angst, one baby step at a time, and we've eliminated them for the long haul. So this area isn't functioning for me. I'm going to just pick the laundry room, for example. It's something we all do. We all do laundry. If you have done okay at laundry in past homes and suddenly you're terrible at laundry in this new home, I say, why don't we look at that space? Why don't we look at the lighting? Why don't we look at the habit? What's changed? What don't we like? What is in the way of making this easier? And then we'll fix those things. And when we fix those things, we've fixed it for the long haul. So you're tweaking something that can positively affect you for months and years to come. And so that's why your environment and taking your environment and how it functions into consideration is so huge, because you're eliminating the rub for the long haul.
The word that came to me was tolerating. You're using rub. I'm going to use tolerate for a second. Like, what are we tolerating? So I think about the amount of women that have left the workforce right now because they couldn't do both with the way that the pandemic homeschooling was happening, right? I think about this whole great resignation that's happening right now, people leaving the workforce. And I think it goes back to tolerating or reawakening or reimagining. And I really appreciated the questions you were saying because they're coming from the way you frame your questions is really in the land of appreciative inquiry. It's like the best of what was, what is, and what could be. So your example is exactly that. And we look at that on teams and culture. We look at that through all of our different engagements. It's the same thing you do through a different lens, if you will. So when I think about Anybody right now who's sitting at their desk like, oh, this is a mess and I'm tolerating it. One of the things you taught me was don't go against who you are. Right. Because I kept trying to do it differently, which is why I kept failing over and over again. And for whatever reason, you were able to look at how our household ran and you were like, well, you know what? You have stairs and stairs aren't easy for you guys right now. You have to lug these groceries up and then you got to go grocery shopping again. And you actually even just changed where we stored our bags. And I was like, what? Like it felt, I actually had an energetic release of stress because I no longer have to remember where did I put the bags? Where are the bags this time? Like the bags have a home now. And you started helping us figure out homes for everything. And you also helped me figure out what I don't need to hang on to anymore. So for those of you who've been in your job for a while, you might not need your files from 5 years ago because things have changed, right? We had that going on too. So when you look at just the human psychology that I know you're so good at and with your clients, when you're thinking about the listener today, what's a question or a thought they might we can invite them into about tolerating and energy and just how to get some of that back, how to get less of the rub.
Yeah,
What do you look for? What's the, yeah.
I think we start with what is directly in front of us and around us within reach. I think it's fantastically humorous how many people have a pen or six sitting in front of them that doesn't work. It doesn't write when you go to write with it. And you put it back in the pen holder instead of putting it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And so silly, I mean, that's a funny thing. We all do it, but just throwing it away eliminates that one little stab in your side, like, ugh, can't I just get a pen that works? And when you think about just eliminating all the little small things that irritate you, one baby step at a time, by the end of the day, you could have an entire desk that feels and functions better. And so some of these bigger hills that we're being asked to climb, so to speak, are going to require a lot of energy. And if we're not being, stabbed to death, one pen at a time that doesn't work with all these silly little decisions and rubs,
Mm-hmm.
you have more energy at the end of the day because you haven't had to deal with all these little tiny irritating bits that bother you so much. I'm wearing this black turtleneck today because it's one less, and you've heard this story, I'm sure, one less decision to make because we've all got a pot of decisions that we're capable of making in a day. And so if you can reduce that, you've got more capacity to spend in areas of value. And it's the same kind of thing with your desk. When you've got just the stuff you need around you and only the things that give you energy and give you the positive feeling that you need, you're setting yourself up for success. And who wouldn't want to do that? I always like to think of it in terms of my own child. What would I want for him? What would I do for him? Well, then why wouldn't I do it for me?
Oh, right. Oh my God. The pen alone. Okay. OMG. Whoever's listening right now, your first double dog dare of the day is to go take all those pens that don't work, get rid of them. Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is energy, tolerating the here's what there's so much coming at me because what I'm hearing you say, and because I've lived it with you, I just want to like shout it at the rooftops, but this is what I think I want to say. When we think about the demands exceeding our resources, that is the everyday life right now, because that's when stress happens. Demands exceed resources. Internally resourced people who can, take those 3 deep breaths and find their way through the chaos, they're doing better right now. So it's like, what demands are we placing on ourselves that we don't even need to? Simplest example, the pen, right? The other example that came to mind when you were helping me in my office is, I go up and down stairs and I grab coffee and drinks or whatever. And I had said to you, I hate bringing these back upstairs. And so I feel like I've just got this pile of coffee cups. And you showed up and you're like, hey, here's a carrier for 6 things at once. And you can just take it up and down. I was like, why don't I think about that? Like, I'm an executive coach. I help people, I advise corporations. I mean, this is such a duh thing, but I know I would have never thought of it. And it just really highlights how much work we do in the strengths area, how much we help people with their Colby assessments, like what we do to help people figure out their genius zone. And what I so appreciate, Kristina, about what you did is there was no shame involved. Like, well, Lisa, just take them up, you lazy ass. Why are your cups here? You were like, your brain doesn't work that way. You literally don't even see them anymore till the end of the day. And they're like, I'm too tired. Like, you didn't make me feel broken or wrong or lazy. Those are the stories I would tell myself while I'm doing that. Instead, you just found a solution. So I think about all the energy you've saved me in like judgment or even when we go to do the dishes. Are there any more dishes? Oh yeah, go back downstairs. Like, it's just more efficient. And what that does for me as a business owner, I'm a happier person to be around. So what is it about what
If I might interrupt real quick.
Please do, because I have a question, but I can't land. I don't know how to land it because
well, I think what you're really good at asking other people questions. And what you didn't do is ask yourself, what is the root of the problem here? It's not that I have a lot of cups. It's great that you're drinking all this water. Yay, that you have great morning coffee. All these things are wins. It's just the efficiency question of, well, I don't care who you are, nobody wants to head up and down the stairs 6 times to take 6 different cups up the stairs. It's how can I do this faster, easier, and with less rub? And you have so much outbound going to other people, to your clients, that you haven't given yourself the gift of asking your own questions. What could I do that's natural to me to make this most efficient? And so, excuse me, I think when we start giving ourselves the benefit of the doubt and the gift of just a few minutes, saying, I'm going to, in a 10-minute session of self-love, I'm going to make my space better. How am I going to do that? What is my biggest issue? Maybe it's, the buildup of mugs on my coffee, or on my desk. Let's figure out what the answer is. Maybe we got a carrier that goes up the stairs once at the end of the day, and I high five myself for that win.
Right? Yeah, that's what happens now. Sometimes I don't even carry it up. I'll call my daughter and be like, hey, can you carry up the mugs? And she doesn't resent it because it's all in a carrier. Like the simplest things, even where you place your paper. So I think what you're talking about is so important. And I really appreciate the interruption for you to presence that for me. Because don't we give to others all day long, every day? And what could 10 minutes with a question for yourself? What are you tolerating? What's in the way? What doesn't feel efficient? Even if you ask yourself that once a week, imagine the difference, right?
I think so many of us don't even give ourselves the luxury to say, what do I not like in this moment right now around me? I mean, that feels like such a luxury. It feels like so indulgent. Like, also, how many duplicates do you have of a thing? Do you need 18 pens? Get your favorite, the best, heaviest, most delicious pen that you got as a gift. And that's the one pen that should be sitting on your desk. You don't need to be cluttered up with 47 others that you got for free at the dentist office.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'd like to do. You have a whole system. And when we think about organizations as a system, homes as a system, families, teams, these are all systems. And what I loved about your functionality grid is you really highlight the different areas to look at. So for the listener today, I think it would be really helpful for you to cover for us the different aspects of this, because we're talking pens. For other people, it might be the commute. For some other people, it could be laundry. Others might be the organization of your team meetings and the structure and the time frame, because I know all of this lends itself well. Some people, it might be clothing choices. So I'm going to pop this up here. So if you're watching the video, you're going to have a visual aid. If you're listening, we're going to share this in the show notes, but Kristina's going to make sure to cover it. But I just want to invite you into walking us through this so that, let me make sure it's really clear. There's a whole bunch here, Kristina, and especially with this hybrid work world people are in right now, and they're thinking about how many days in the office and how many days at home. I could see how this might even get more chaotic for people because now they're going to have 2 workspaces. So can you walk us through, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here.
Yeah. So this is what I call sort of the definition of home functionality. It's the lenses that I use. It's what you have to consider in order to see less friction around function. And so if we start with the upper right-hand corner floor plan, it's how is your space laid out? How is your office laid out? How is your whatever room you're in laid out? Maybe it's whatever room gives you the most angst. Maybe you close your eyes and you think of the morning and then the afternoon and the evening and create a mental heat map of sorts of where you and your family are in the home so that you can start identifying the areas that you use the most. And maybe you start with those most used areas and thinking about the floor plan and how it functions. In that, you can also consider where your bottlenecks are, where your furniture is. Is this space even being used to its best and highest potential? So floor plan can have several meanings. One is this home that we're in the right one for us? But if it's an office scenario, are we using this space better? Could a different room serve this need better? Maybe we need to switch offices. Maybe that conference room down the hall isn't getting used at all, but there's 2 people working in a room without a window. And so maybe that could be better utilized. So really it's assessing the space itself as a whole, as an umbrella. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the ability to identify sources of friction. And that is, where are our hangups? What task gives me angst? And where are we falling down? What activities do we dread? Where are our issues? And I'm not suggesting that you need to answer the questions. If you can simply pose the questions, that's a great place to start, because then we can get input, we can do research on solutions, but just finding where the angst is such a great baby step to take. And then as we go around sort of clockwise, there's automations, habits, and hacks. And I don't love the word hack. It has a negative connotation, but it's a way that we can say, is there anything that we're doing something that couldn't maybe be done with a app, or couldn't be done in conjunction with something else, doubling up in habits? When I do A, then I'll do B. When I wait for the shower to turn on and get warm, there's a 15-second pause before I get in. Could I water my plants that are in there at the same time? Because I keep forgetting. So it's the making things easier and making them make sense, so to speak. There's home automation systems that are fabulous. And I could talk about that for 6 hours. There's all sorts of things that you can set up on subscriptions and just little time-saving luxuries like personal hugs that you can do, shortcuts, anything like that falls into this category. And then I'm
going to have you pause for just a second, because this is
you
all
bet.
so good. Okay, I'm going to go back here real quick. So floor plan, let's do 3 at a time. Floor plan, your office space. Do you even have the natural light? When we think about stress and burnout, natural light matters. I loved your example about the conference room maybe not being used and having the windows there. I even think about the floor plan of your car when you're commuting. Are things in reach? Do you have 72 boxes of Band-Aids in the glove box? Do you need 72 boxes? I'm talking about me right now, right? So you really had me look at floor plan and optimizing that space to be more enjoyable and energetic. And oh my gosh, with the hybrid work world we're in right now, I think floor plan is definitely a conversation for everyone to be having, even where your teams are situated. And I think about the neurodiverse community in tech and what they need. I think about the disabled leaders in tech and what they need. Like everyone's going to need a little bit different. So even having the floor plan conversation is going to open up connection and inspire inclusion. So as a leader, you might just say, what do we love about this floor plan? And what might we do to make it even better? Like that's the simplest thing you can do as a team, right? And then your second one, when you were talking about identify sources of friction, oh my gosh. And you say ability to. And I think that for teams right now, a lot of leaders are afraid to even ask the question, where are we having friction? What could we be doing better? Because they don't even think they can fix it sometimes. They don't even want to ask. And what you presenced was the first part of it is to just notice it yourself. Like it's not about giving to someone else to fix, but to even become aware for yourself, because you have more control than you think. And if it's as simple as pens or paper or office placement, maybe you need to move the printer. I don't know. And then what you can't control, then you can presence because you've already done something for yourself with the things that you can fix. I think that is just so beautiful. And then Kristina, the third thing with your automation habits and hacks. Okay, we got to go all in here, my friend. You blew my mind. I've been anti-Alexa or Google for 100 years. I feel like everybody's listening to me anyway. And you said, did you know there's a list that you can just one time say, add strawberries to the shopping list? And then that list can actually go to your Instacart and that Instacart can actually make it to your door. I was like, what in the hell? No, I didn't know that. So I think about everybody's burnout and overwhelm and what you did for our family by not just taking me for what I said, but inviting me to see what is possible with automation hacks and habits. You even helped us figure out every Sunday we meal plan for the week. You know, what day is laundry day? So putting that structure in place.
Well, and some people might not be okay with that particular kind of structure. And I think it's important to acknowledge that everyone is different and what works for you may not be optimal for your neighbor. And so we really need to tune in with what our natural cognitive abilities are, our strengths, and say, what would work for me? What is my version of this? And how could I take the friction out of this piece of my life so that I can just be happier? It's less stress.
Well, that's the beauty of what you brought. I mean, I think you're just such a wealth of knowledge. And my husband and I, you know, we're not the same person. When we look at even our Colby results, I'm completely different than him in 2 areas and very similar in 2 others. And the biggest thing we realized after you started working with us was he and I are great when a system is there. But where we flounder because of how our makeup and our strengths is building that system in the first place. And so everything now has a home. Everything is labeled, our towels, our soap, every place that, so I don't have any worry now on where to put it back or get the question, hey, where is such and such? And I think you factored in who we were and built that for us. And I think the other example of that for me that really was mind blowing was I have a lot of leadership books. I mean, I'm a book junkie. And I came back to my office and you had all of my books in order by color, not by title. And I was like, it was like Christmas. I know what these books look like. I've read them all. I know that one's a blue one and that one's a red one. I have never in my life thought of putting my books in order of the alphabet. And I'm not sorry, in order of color. I've always thought about it by the alphabet, Kristina. So I think a couple of more of the examples might help people see what's possible for them. So whether it's the automation of your grocery shopping or the effortlessness now of me finding a book I'm looking for, What are a couple of automation tips, habits, or hacks that we could land right here, right now to be of use to our listener?
Well, I think when we take your office as an example, there were a few things that when you present, you said, I need, and they were sitting on your desk. They are like what I would call a physical version of an emoticon. It's these little dolls that your daughter made for you. And you said, I use these and I need access to them. Well, how do we do that and have them within arm's reach without them sitting on and cluttering up your desk space? And so she's got this fabulous boom for her microphone. And I thought, what if we just used magnetic clips and clipped them up the arm so they are out of the way, but they are quick and easy access. So I think there's opportunities when you've got something close to you where there can be a magnet opportunity that can be up and out of the way, but still close. I think there's opportunity for some people really need to map things out. They need to see it, touch it, feel it. There's something that I love. It's an application for the wall, and it's a paint that goes on and it makes your space into a whiteboard. So the wall actually turns into a giant whiteboard where you can, write ideas and all of that. I love that sort of stuff, to where you're utilizing something that's already in existence. You're not buying something new that you may not need in 4 months from now when the next person occupies that office. But this paint application is something that can be morphed and used for years to come as different people use that office in a different way. I have it in my home office because you can't even tell it's there, and it's so much more attractive than a whiteboard, for example. So I think thinking of things that can be also used in the long haul, that can grow and morph with you, are super important. And that sort of stuff, is good for several uses for several people and for several years. Like there's the multi-purpose thing. You will always get like high fives and fist bumps about that from me, because then you're being wise with your efforts.
I'm going to say something. So Kristina, we're going to share all of your socials at the end, but she has got this Instagram page, right? The other day you showed something about like cupcakes or eggs and like the squishable thing. And one of the hacks you gave us in our house was the roll out. So, all of our under cabinet area, it's deep, but you can't get to the back. So you shove stuff in there. You never use it. I mean, one of the first things you did is you audited our kitchen. Like, would you really need 7 spatulas? And I'm like, okay, probably 2.
Just pick your favorite.
Right. Get to you always say, what's your favorite? Even coffee cups, which we've already talked about. But one of the hacks you gave us was just to care enough about the kitchen to put those rollers in so we can pull it out and actually maximize the use of that space. And you also even gave us something where now our lids can all stand sideways and I can see them easier. I used to just pile them all in, make a lot of noise. And I find it so much more enjoyable to be in the space now with things that are optimized. So that's another hack, I would say, and I think the other thing that you did in my desk that for the women listening in who apply makeup for their Zoom calls, I had lipsticks everywhere. Do you remember this? Lipsticks everywhere. And I came back and I'll see if I can pull it up. I now have, look at this. They're all here. I have them by color. They all have a home. It's like, what? There's a lipstick.
It's so pretty. Holder. It's so pretty.
And it's pretty. And I walk in, I'm like, oh, well, look at that. I'm going to put it back. I can just simply reach for a lipstick now when I do a podcast interview or I'm talking to a client. And I didn't realize, because I'd be like, is it in my pocket? Is it in my purse? Where's that lipstick? And I finally said, oh, I need 2. One for my purse, so I don't have to worry about it, and one for my desk. And that for me worked. Like that hack of giving myself permission to be efficient, like the hack of giving myself permission to be efficient was a game changer.
That's a big deal.
Right? Because I think before I used to think I was just being, well, who are you to have 2 lipsticks? You only need 1, right? I grew up in the time where don't have extras, but yet you've been in my house and we know I have extras. So why not just put the extras to work rather than stocking them because one day we might run out of lipstick in the middle of a pandemic. Why not put
100%.
them to work?
Yes.
Okay. I just thank you for that. Let's go to the next steps because I know there's more here, but I kind of
Yes.
want to land that. So we're on ability to edit. Is that right?
Yeah, the ability to edit. Just what do you love? What do you need? What do you have duplicates of? What did you used to love? And what are you hanging on to because you feel like you should or have to, or there was sentimental value? I'm going to get real personal and tell you, my mother just recently brought over my father, who passed when I was 9, his college degree. What do you do with that? I just felt like she came over and dropped off 7,000 pounds that I have to now carry around. And I felt weighted. I felt yucky. What am I going to do with it? She's clearly kept it for over 30 years. I don't think it's wise for me to go figure out where to store it for 30 years, because if you can imagine this times 1,000 things, everything from your childhood, your child's childhood. I mean, there has to be a point with which you say it's too much, or this isn't doing us any good anymore. It's too heavy and the payoff isn't there. And so I have decided I'm going to literally burn it. I'm going to have a little ceremony and I'm going to send it up into the air where he is. And it's emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I am betraying him, but that diploma isn't doing anyone any good. And it's taking up space. And when space is a premium, you really have to figure out, what it's going to be filled with. So I think stuff has emotional baggage for everyone. And so being able to say, how do I move this along? I don't want it to be in a landfill. That just feels yucky. So I thought if I literally do something to honor him and say a few words, I think that's probably the best way to deal with that. But stuff is a big deal. It's a big deal for everyone. And especially when so many of us are dealing with aging parents or parents that have passed, and then you inherit their stuff. I mean, I could talk about that for the next 3 hours because there's so much that goes with that.
Yeah. I really appreciate, I'd like to presence my appreciation for you sharing that right now. And I think it profoundly moves me and anyone who's listening for that energy to show up and what you're talking about, because you do want to honor him. And what do you do with this thing? And yeah, who wants that in the landfill? Like, I appreciate you sharing the thought process you had, the very intentional process you're going to place it to where you honor that and you're also making room, right? Because I can tell you, I have a couple of things like that that are still sitting in my garage, like, because I don't know what to do with them. So you're inspiring me, as you always do, to just think about how might I honor the person, the memory, and not have it be stored in a thing that is just cluttering up. And every time I walk by, I feel like crap because I haven't done something with it. So my personal story, and I know you know this, when my mom passed, my mom was an office supply junkie. Now, Kristina knows this because I said, all those boxes are from my mother's office. I can't touch them. I can't look at them. It just makes me sad. Like, I wish that we could just organize together because she loved her paper clips and her big clips and her pens and Post-its. And instead of you being like, well, they're just things, you were very much like, oh, how can we honor the fact that you haven't been able to touch these boxes, but yet you could actually be working with your mom with these supplies in your rotation. And you took my old shoe. I have a thing by the door. We used to stick all the shoes in. They never fit, so we never used it. But it was by the door. And you were like, wait a minute, we're going to put that in your office. And I'm going to go look through all of the things that you have from your mom, all of the different supplies. And now I look at it and everything is in a plastic container that's reusable, right? In other words, like it's sturdy enough, it's not going to break. And everything has a label on it. And every time I look over, I'm like, hey, mom, like I'm literally like having conversation with my mom with all her supplies in my office. And like no one can really talk about the weight that has lived, like the joy that I'm now having in my office. Like she's in here with me, because energetically I do believe she's with me all the time, but now her physical things are not just in a box that I look at and feel bad, but they're with me. And when they're used, then they're used, and that's just part of it. So I really appreciate the story about your dad and the diploma, and someone else being like, here's a gift. But is it a gift? And then what do you do with it? And like when my mom died, I was never going to get rid of her supplies. Like it felt like a diploma going to the landfill. So I think the question that you're giving us all right now is, how might we put things to their best use and their best energy, whatever that is?
100%.
So
If
I
we
really
can,
appreciate that.
if we can use those things in a different way, that's fantastic. Like containers, there were some containers, and they meant a lot to your husband, and he recognized them, and he came in and he said, did you buy those? And I said, no, we found them and we needed containers in here. And so we were able to use them. And he's like, wow, my dad would love that.
Yeah, they're in my daughter's bathroom, and they were his dad's containers. We didn't even know where they were. Right. So when you came in and you actually repurposed too, and you didn't know, but he loves going to that bathroom now. Right. And I think the other thing that when we think about edit, we're still in a bit ability to edit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I love the word ability, because there was a point when you first started with me, I didn't have the ability to edit and I needed your help. And I think as a leader, when you look at everything going on in your world, you got to ask for help. You can look at the strengths on your team. You can look at the resources available to you. And I remember you taking a bunch of my daughter's like clothing that I had this vision I was going to turn into teddy bears, right? And you were like, these, I'm like, don't touch them. Can't talk about it. Move on, right? You're like, okay. And then you put them away, right? I was kind enough, but you could tell, right? And then you bring them back out, and then the tears would come. I'm like, don't touch them. I can't talk about them, right? And then by like the third time, you're like, hey, right? And then I was like, okay, let's save one thing, not 12, right? So the ability, I think, to just give ourselves grace and to understand that you might need a partner in this, and it might be helpful to you to have other people understand, and then also to just be present with you as you're processing the emotions that go with that. Like when I left my corporate job, I was there for 21 years, and you've seen it, Kristina, in my garage, I have this massive 20-year plaque signed by everybody, right? I mean, I haven't done anything for 20 years. I haven't even been married 20 years yet, 16, right? And I look at that thing, I'm like, what do I do with this? What do I do with all the energy that was wrapped up in celebrating 20 years in tech? And so it still sits. I mean, you're coming back next week, right? But I'm like, I need somebody to handhold me on that one and help me really figure out, and help me edit in a way that's doesn't feel forced, or I guess pressure cooker would be the word. So do you have any, I guess, insights for people when they're going to go through their own edit about getting help or talking to other people? I mean, your podcast, I know, is going to be a huge help here. But what comes to mind when I talk about that? Because I know how emotional it is. I've been in it with you.
Yeah, I think, just knowing that there are pieces that are super emotional, if you can at least create a box or a space for those to live, even if it's temporarily, so that you can come back in a week or a month, set a reminder to go revisit that thing. Because sometimes what you just need is you just need to sleep on it. You need to acknowledge that there's big feelings associated with that, let a little bit of time pass and revisit it again. And then come up with a creative way to use it. If you can upcycle it, or, one thing like the plaques and the diplomas and the gosh, little ticket stubs from your first concert, all of that sort of stuff. If you use a service like Shutterfly or some of these digital platforms, you can make a coffee table book out of a lot of your things to where you can get rid of the physical item, but you could still have it in a way that you can flip through it with your family and really consume it and, honor that memory, relive that memory in an easier way. Because are you really going to get down a big giant plaque? But if it was photographed and put in a coffee table book along with all the photos from your colleagues at that time and other
Right.
things that are relevant, you could do a little tiny 10 by 10 book that then is digestible and you can share that with people. And so I think there are ways that you can still maintain those things without having the giant plaque, or in my case, like the college degree. You can have them in a book that's professionally bound, hard covered, and beautiful. So they're
so good
tricks.
Yeah. So anyone listening who's thinking of honoring a colleague and going and making one of those big ass plaques or something like that,
Please
I invite
don't.
you to do something digital, whether it's a video montage and people submit a video, do it, in paper. Kristina does wonderful things. I've seen her work because our kids go to the same school. So I've seen the yearbook that she drives and how she makes that happen. Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, you got to think about the next life
for the recipient, right? Yeah.
Right. You got to think about its next life. And if there's a way that you can do it so that they're not then taxed with storing this thing, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you about the last two because I want to make sure people can see the whole vision here. So we're going to organization and then we're going to land on aesthetics and furniture. What do you want to say about those two?
Organization is going to mean something different for each person. I don't want people to think automatically it is what you see on TV. It is a bunch of bins with labels, because not everyone functions that way. So I think the organization piece is important, that you understand that it is what is organized for you. And a lot of times physical clutter equals mental clutter. So if you can minimize it and then set your space up in a way that works for you, and that may take several iterations. My mudroom, for example, has taken me 5 years to figure out how it works so that we don't have 49 pairs of shoes that we fall over when we come in from our garage. So don't think that the first try, if you haven't nailed it, you're a loser. That's not at all the case. It's going to take some processes, and sometimes you'll get it right. But then sometimes you know what? I noticed that I don't open this bin and put the stuff in because there's no arm that holds it up. And I sometimes have my hands full. So maybe we need a heavier hinge so that when we open it up, it stays open and we can get in and out of it. And that has to do with office spaces too. If a space is hard to get into, you're just not going to get into it. You're going to avoid it. So you want to eliminate those pieces that are hard. And sometimes the organization of it is a piece to that puzzle. So, what's in there? Is it all one category? Doesn't make sense for me. Some people want it alphabetized. Some people need it done by color. Some people need piles, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you helped me with my piles because now my piles are sorted by color inserts in between. I'm like, oh, you didn't make me have to get rid of, I'm a piler. You're like, nope, just insert this here so you can find things easier. I'm like, thank you. Okay, let's go here. Aesthetics and furniture choices.
So aesthetics and furniture choices is more than just about making it pretty. Although, yes, you will want to spend time in a space that you think you love, that you think resonates with you, that you think speaks to your soul, so to speak. But also it needs to be functional. So if your couch is so hard, maybe gorgeous, but if it's so hard that you don't really want to sit on it, maybe it's not working for you. So also scale. Furniture choices can be the size of my desk, the size of the couch. Do we have ample room to get around, to move around, to host parties? Is there enough seating, Or is there too much seating? My mom, bless her heart, she has a chair problem. She has way too many chairs in the room. There's not enough room to walk around.
Mm-hmm.
So really that last piece of the puzzle is about making it suitable for you so that it's a space that you enjoy, but also that's highly functional, making sure the things that are in there are really like paying their dues. Bonus points for double duty, like if you've got an ottoman that can also be a storage space, or if you've got, a coffee table in the middle of the room that also pops up and becomes a desk in a pinch. Those sorts of things are just worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'm thinking about as you're talking is the home office. And, basically everything we're talking about today really can help eliminate burnout and energy drain and stress and overwhelm, right? Like that's the pull through here. But I even think about how many people are in the wrong chair at home in their home office. When we talk about furniture, your chair is going to make or break it, right? Are you sitting with your laptop stacked on books? Could you maybe get the riser that actually makes it easier for you? What have you just been tolerating that if you saw someone else working like that, you would have all these ideas for them? Right. I think that's when we get to this point, what you're talking about, and you helped me see a lot too. I mean, I had an old calendar that was like seven, the big table thing, because I like to write. I didn't want to write on the thing. Like, why don't we just give you the clean page of it, even though it's from last year? Because I had all these notes, right? Oh, I need all that. No, I don't. I just need to keep my notes somewhere else. So everything that you've done for us, Kristina, has been, it's life-changing. Like working with you to look at our function in our business, our work from home space, our home. I can see all of these aspects now, and I'm really grateful we got to actually land this for everybody today so they can see all of the different things they can do. And not to overwhelm them, but like to start small, even with going back to the pens that aren't working at your desk. And I think as we wrap this up today, I have two questions for you. Number one, when you're doing this work and you're getting in with your clients and you're helping see this for them, and it feels heavy, right? Because it does for the client, and maybe probably for you too, as you can see our pain.
Well, you have to honor it.
Yeah. Do you have a go-to song that just, because I want to put you on our playlist. So what's a song that helps you with your vibe, whether it's tackle the big ugly garage project or the kitchen or hold space for a client, just as you're feeling overwhelmed with the chaos, which is our space? What's a song that brings you joy?
What's funny about that is I turn everything off.
Tell me more.
I'm the opposite. When I have to focus, I turn everything off and I just give myself permission to think about anything or nothing. And I think that helps me so much. Giving myself permission to have silence around me feels lovely, like a gift. And I think a lot of times we've got so much chaos happening, news and pop-ups and 27,000 emails a day and all this stuff coming at us. Just the ability to not have anything coming at me. I think when I'm en route to your house, I have nothing on the radio at all. And it's very intentional because I need to have a clear mind. I need to be able to take in what I am seeing, honor it, and then make good and wise decisions and suggestions. Mm-hmm. So I need to have a clear head when I do that.
That is so fascinating to me, because what people don't know is whenever I come home, you have music on and a candle lit with whatever room you're finishing up, right? So I walk into this experience and in my mind, I'm thinking you must always have songs on. I think what you just said is so profound. I might actually have a track of white noise on purpose now, right? Because one of the things that I know is true, because we all need quiet so we can hear the whispers of our soul and like get the clarity. Wow. Yep. I'm really grateful that you didn't just take my question and answer it with a song, but could really help us see the power of pause and quiet. Like, what a gift, Kristina. So I know
So,
people are, yeah, go ahead.
no, on that note, when I am able to choose what to listen to after I've wrapped at a house, it's usually some sort of meditation or what I call lo-fi chill station, which oftentimes does not have any lyrics. And that is to give your thoughts space. I like the music to sit in the background and not be dominant. It needs to be something that I don't know the words to, can't sing to, and I'm not trying to figure out what they're saying. So that's why I don't even want anything with lyrics in it. Now, there's a time for that. I love music,
Yeah.
Friday afternoon, happy hour, all day long. Yes, that. But when you're really trying to honor space and have someone's experience be lovely when they walk into the room, you want that music to sit in the background so that the space becomes the star of the show.
Look at that. And this, my friends, is why you want to go follow and listen and subscribe to her podcast. This is why you want to watch her on Instagram. And this is exactly why I had you here today, Kristina, is to bring your full truth forward, because the gift that you bring, that you brought into our family and our business, I don't know how to quantify it, but I do know that I have a stage that we can presence your awesomeness on here right now. And I do know you are part of Ctrl Alt Delete. You helped us reboot our environment, reboot our experience, and reboot our relationships because of all of those things we were tolerating or those frictions we were just ignoring, so that we could actually really be present for the moments that matter. And it is no joke. So thank you. And can you let the listener know how to find you? Where should people go? I mean, I know I said Instagram, but why don't we just really be clear about where people should go to get more info?
You bet. So the name of the podcast is Home, Space, and Reason. And therefore, my website is Space and Reason. And then my @ symbol for all the places is also Space and Reason. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @ Space and Reason is where you'll find me at all of the webs, all of the places. And so happy to connect there. And I've got over 60 episodes on Home, Space, and Reason. And each one is organized by topic. So it's really easy to scroll through. I would recommend starting at episode 1 because it really talks about, from the very beginning, what is home functionality? And then it builds on that. So that's always a nice time to sort of start with the what. And then each question poses question, or each podcast poses questions for you to ask yourself about your space and your reason. So it's very task oriented. There's always a time for you to write down some questions. And I think I really like to honor the listeners' time by making it worthwhile in every episode.
I love it. Yeah, Space and Reason, people, no joke. Right. What I'd like to leave you with as we wrap up today is to really think about everything we've said. What's one thing that you're already like, I could change that, or I could make that better, or one irritant that you're now aware of, or somebody you can count on or talk to be able to figure this out in your workspace and in your home life, because you have so much going on that this is actually a gift to all of your relationships and your productivity. So Kristina, is there one question you want to leave them with as they ponder?
I think just asking yourself if you can take baby steps. I really feel like, you don't ever rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you can make the system, the basic space that you have in place to function from, if you can make that better, just a little tiny baby step at a time, you're giving yourself the biggest gift, because that is what you show up with every day. Those are your tools. So if you make those tools less hard, if you make that space more enjoyable, I mean, what a gift.
Yeah. So the question of the day: to Ctrl Alt Delete your space, How can you give yourself grace? What's one thing you can do? One small act you can take right now that's going to improve the situation that you're in, whatever space you're in right now. That's your homework, everybody. Make it a great day. Kristina, thank you for being here on Ctrl
Thanks
Alt
for
Delete.
having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad you're here.
It's been
All
a
right,
pleasure.
everybody. Here's to lifting some of those heavy weights, tolerating less, and being more present in your life. Make it a great day. Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre. Head on over to wherever you find your other favorite podcasts and subscribe to Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre. Leave a review with some of that 5-star love. And let's keep it real. There's a reason why you're listening to this. If you don't get the support you need and start making changes in your life and work as a leader in tech, you can expect regret and burnout in the near future. Lisa and the team at RLD Group have been in your shoes, sat in those meetings, and experienced everything you can imagine as a leader in tech. They can help you get kick-ass results at work without burning out, so you can be present for the moments that matter to you and your loved ones. Take your first step by visiting rldgroupllc.com. RLD Group helps develop technical experts lacking people leadership skills from being a company's biggest liability into their greatest asset. Find out more at rldgroupllc.com. Thanks again for listening. Catch you next time on Ctrl Alt Delete with Lisa Duerre, powered by RLD Group, as we help you reboot your leadership drive.